As one of the most groundbreaking sitcoms of its time, The Jeffersons entertained audiences with its sharp humor, unforgettable characters, and trailblazing representation. Decades after its final episode, the show remains a beloved classic, but sadly, many of its talented cast members have passed away. Some left behind decades of iconic work in television and film, while others were taken far too soon. In this tribute, we remember 43 actors from The Jeffersons who are no longer with us, honoring their contributions to entertainment and the lasting impact they made on fans around the world. Isabel Sanford took on the role of Louise Jefferson in The Jeffersons in 1975 at the age of 58, bringing to life a character of warmth, intelligence, and resilience. Louise, often the voice of reason in the Jefferson household, balanced her husband George's fiery temperament with unwavering patience. Isabel's success as the first black woman to win an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series was marred by an industry that rarely offered her roles that matched her talent. She was married to William Edward Richmond, but their union was a troubled one, ending in divorce, leaving her to raise their 3 children alone. The demands of her career often stole precious time from her family, and despite her fame, she struggled with profound loneliness in her later years. Health issues plagued her, as years of stress and hard work took a toll on her body, leading to a decline that left her frail and dependent on others. She died on July 9, 2004, at the age of 86 from natural causes.
Likely to come back unexpected.
Boss? The day I call George boss is the day they'll invite Lester Maddox to a Harlem block party.
Roxie Roker debuted as Helen Willis in The Jeffersons in 1975 at age 46, making history as part of the first interracial couple on primetime television. A poised, intelligent woman both on and off screen, Roxie used her platform to advocate for social progress, but her personal life was filled with struggles. She was married to television producer Cy Kravitz, yet their marriage was far from the progressive love story she portrayed on television. Kravitz's infidelities and emotional distance left Roxie deeply unhappy, and though they had a son, musician Lenny Kravitz, their home was filled with tension rather than love. The couple divorced in 1985, leaving Roxie to navigate single motherhood while battling the industry's lack of roles for aging black actresses. Her later years were overshadowed by a quiet, private battle with breast cancer, a disease she fought without much public knowledge. She passed away on December 2, 1995, at the age of 66, after the cancer had spread aggressively.
I'm going to work. Helen, you are right. You've got to do what you've got to do.
I think there's something else you've got to do.
What?
Read that card.
Sherman Hemsley was just 37 when he stepped into the role of George Jefferson in The Jeffersons in 1975, embodying the ambitious, brash, and often hilarious businessman who was both a source of frustration and admiration. While George was larger than life, Sherman was a private man, painfully shy and reclusive despite his public success. His career flourished on television, yet Hollywood typecast him, leaving him struggling for meaningful roles after The Jeffersons ended. He never married, had no children, and lived much of his life alone, finding companionship only in a small circle of friends and devoted fans. His later years were marred by financial troubles, legal battles over his estate, and a tragic decline in health. As he aged, his reclusiveness deepened, and he was found dead in his home on July 24, 2012, at the age of 74. The cause was superior vena cava syndrome, a complication of lung cancer.
I want you to start thinking of me for a change. I am thinking of you. That's why I don't have time to tell you nothing. Huh? Look, I gotta keep building the business. I don't have any...
Franklin Cover stepped into the role of Tom Willis in 1975 at the age of 47, embodying the well-meaning, easygoing husband of Helen Willis. His character was a beacon of open-mindedness, but Franklin's own life was filled with struggles behind the camera. Though he remained steadily employed throughout his career, The Jeffersons became both his greatest success and his biggest limitation. After the show ended, he found himself locked into similar supporting white guy roles, never achieving the level of stardom he once hoped for. Personally, he seemed to have stability, married to Mary Bradford for over 4 decades, but the industry's shifting landscape left him feeling professionally unfulfilled. As he aged, his health began to deteriorate, and pneumonia struck him hard in his later years. He spent his final days in a hospital, suffering complications that left him weak and barely responsive. On February 5, 2006, at the age of 77, he succumbed to pneumonia.
Get a divorce. Sure, it'll be easy. All you have to do is stand up and say, Your Honor, I want a divorce on the grounds that my husband is forcing me to...
Paul Benedict brought the eccentric and lovable Harry Bentley to life in 1975 at the age of 37, charming audiences with his quirky British mannerisms. However, behind the humor, Paul suffered from a lifetime of struggles due to acromegaly, a rare disorder that caused facial disfigurement and chronic pain. Though he worked consistently in Hollywood, he was often relegated to comedic side roles, never fully able to break out into the dramatic work he longed for. Despite his friendly on-screen demeanor, his personal life was deeply lonely. He never married and had no children, spending most of his years in quiet solitude. His health problems worsened as he aged, and in his final days, he suffered from intense headaches and dizziness. On December 1, 2008, at the age of 70, he was found dead in his home from a brain hemorrhage. A sudden and tragic end for a man who had spent his career bringing laughter to others while privately battling his own pain.
Plus, it's Monday.
Oh, no, you can't blame it on Monday because, you see, actually it's Tuesday.
Well, one day looks just like the other to me.
Really, I always think of Tuesday.
Zara Cully took on the role of Mother Jefferson in 1975 at the age of 83, bringing to life the sharp-witted, domineering matriarch whose biting remarks and old-fashioned views frequently clashed with modern sensibilities. Before the Jeffersons, Cully endured years of professional neglect, facing relentless rejection due to both her age and race. Hollywood had little space for elderly black actresses, and she spent much of her early career struggling in minor stage productions, barely scraping by. She was married to James M. Brown for decades, but their union was fraught with difficulties, including financial hardship and long separations. The loss of her husband in 1968 left her devastated, plunging her into years of loneliness. Cully was no stranger to suffering. She battled tuberculosis in the 1950s and barely survived. When she was diagnosed with lung cancer, she continued to work despite her deteriorating health, her final performances filmed in immense pain. She succumbed to the disease on February 28, 1978, at the age of 86.
About this guy anyway.
Well, he has a wonderful sense of humor.
So does Rodney Allen Rippey. I wouldn't want you to marry him.
Ned Wertimer stepped into the role of Ralph Hart in 1975 at the age of 52, embodying the ever-scheming doorman who viewed tenants as nothing more than sources of tips. Though humorous on screen, his real life was an endless cycle of struggle masked behind forced smiles. Wertimer's career had its peaks, with appearances in Hogan's Heroes and Mary Tyler Moore, but fame never brought stability. He remained a journeyman actor, scraping together guest roles and commercials just to pay his bills. His marriage to his wife, Skyn Kuklinski, lasted decades, but behind closed doors, Wertimer was a man haunted by regret. Unable to have children, he often confided in close friends about his fears of dying forgotten, his legacy reduced to a few lines on old television scripts. In his later years, financial troubles forced him into a smaller home, where he suffered a devastating fall that left him hospitalized for weeks. The complications from his injuries were too severe, and on January 2, 2013, he passed away at 89.
Oh, it's been such a long time.
Louise, you look wonderful.
Will that be all, sir?
Yes, thank you.
I'll take care of this.
Mike Evans became Lionel Jefferson in 1975 at the age of 26, a role that made him a recognizable face but never secured his place in the industry. His character was the bright, forward-thinking son of George and Louise, a symbol of the new generation breaking free from old prejudices. However, in reality, Evans struggled to break through Hollywood's barriers, often sidelined in favor of less controversial black actors. Despite co-creating Good Times, his involvement in television dwindled, and he gradually retreated from the spotlight. His marriage to Helena Jefferson was outwardly stable, yet close friends revealed that Evans battled severe depression, feeling unfulfilled and disillusioned by an industry that had discarded him. He had no children, a painful subject he rarely spoke about, and spent his later years in relative isolation. In 2006, he was diagnosed with throat cancer. The disease ravaged him quickly, and on December 14, 2006, he died at 57.
It's such a mess.
Yeah, but it's my mess, you dig?
You gotta dig if you want to find anything.
You don't understand. See, you think that's a...
Irwin Keyes joined the Jeffersons in 1981 at the age of 29, portraying Hugo Modzelewski, a towering bodyguard with an intimidating presence. Unlike his fierce on-screen persona, Keyes was a gentle soul who struggled with the lifelong effects of acromegaly, a rare disorder that caused abnormal growth and chronic pain. Acting was his escape, yet he was often typecast as the brute, a fate he begrudgingly accepted to survive. Though he married later in life, his relationship with his wife, Tracy Fontaine, was turbulent, with financial strain and medical expenses casting a long shadow over their union. Keyes wanted children but was told by doctors that his condition could complicate fatherhood, a revelation that crushed him. As the years passed, his health deteriorated, his body weakened by decades of stress and illness. On July 8, 2015, at 63, he succumbed to complications from acromegaly.
I got a shotgun down in the car if you need a visual aid.
No. I believe you. Yeah.
Hi, Hugo.
Jason Bernard took on the role of Lloyd Tyndall in The Jeffersons in 1983 at the age of 45, portraying a driven and charismatic businessman who knew how to command a room. Bernard himself had a dynamic career, appearing in numerous television and film roles, yet he never achieved the stardom he so desperately craved. Beneath his confident exterior lay a man plagued by disappointments, missed opportunities, roles that never materialized, and an industry that overlooked his talents. His personal life fared no better. A failed marriage left him emotionally scarred, and despite remarrying, his relationships were often strained by his inner turmoil. His two children, caught between their father's bouts of depression and his fleeting moments of joy, struggled to connect with him as he remained distant, lost in regret. His health declined as stress and heartbreak took their toll, and in 1996, his life came to a sudden, tragic end. On October 16, 1996, at the age of 58, he suffered a fatal heart attack.
I'm real nervous about it. But I say to him now, if we can just find some way to keep this bread, I'd be more than willing to split it with it.
Yeah, that's when I show.
Danny Wells took on the role of Charlie in 1975 at the age of 34, playing the warm and affable bartender whose laid-back attitude provided comic relief. Yet, beyond the laughter, Wells' own life was one of hardship and relentless disappointments. His acting career, while steady, never brought him the recognition he longed for, and he was often overshadowed by bigger names. Though he found occasional work in voice acting and guest spots, he struggled with the fear of becoming irrelevant. Wells never married, a reality he attributed to his inability to maintain deep connections, and he had no children. Friends described him as a man who hid his sadness behind humor, often drinking alone in the very bars he once portrayed on screen. As he aged, health issues plagued him, and a cancer diagnosis in his early 70s only cemented his downward spiral. He passed away on November 28, 2013, at 72, his death a quiet event that barely made headlines, much like the career he had fought so hard to build.
I tell you what else we're not going to do. We're not going to leave here till we do talk about it. You're not closing early, are you, Charlie?
Are you kidding? With crowds like this, I may stay open all night.
That's even.
Frank Duvall took on the role of Sammy in The Jeffersons in 1981 at the age of 70, bringing his signature charm and wit to the character. Sammy, a jovial and musically gifted man, added a layer of warmth to the show, often lightening tense moments with his humor and talent. Duvall's career spanned decades, with his contributions to television and film music earning him great respect, yet his personal struggles cast a long shadow over his success. Behind his professional triumphs, Duvall faced profound loneliness, exacerbated by the death of his wife, Helen O'Connell, in 1993. The love of his life, she had been his anchor, and without her, he withdrew from the world, sinking into despair. The emptiness of his home mirrored his isolation, as his once vibrant social circles dwindled, leaving him to navigate the pain of old age alone. His final years were marked by deep melancholy, as he became increasingly reclusive, consumed by memories of a life that no longer existed. On October 27, 1999, at the age of 88, Frank Duvall passed away due to natural causes.
When I met you, when I met you in Piccadilly Square, you said...
Greg Morris made a brief but memorable appearance as Jimmy's cousin in The Jeffersons in 1983 at the age of 50, bringing his signature strength and reliability to the role. A well-known television star from Mission: Impossible, Morris had once been a trailblazer, breaking barriers for black actors in Hollywood. However, his later years were marked by devastating hardship. A heavy smoker for much of his life, he was diagnosed with brain cancer in the early 1990s, a disease that robbed him of his independence and dignity. His marriage crumbled under the weight of his illness, and though he had 3 children, including actor Phil Morris, he found himself retreating into solitude. Once a symbol of resilience, he became a shadow of his former self, consumed by pain and bitterness, unable to reconcile with the rapid decline of his health. On August 27, 1996, at the age of 62, Greg Morris passed away, his body ravaged by disease.
Well, how do I know he can even do anything?
Well, Mr. Jefferson, I guess you'll just have to trust me. After all, I've done this kind of thing before.
Al Harrington brought life to Leon Canicullo in The Jeffersons in 1980 at the age of 45, his character embodying warmth, resilience, and an unwavering sense of community. Harrington, a towering figure in the entertainment world, struggled to find steady footing despite his talent. Though he gained recognition through his work on Hawaii Five-0, financial hardship loomed over his later years. Investments failed, leaving him with mounting debts that forced him to continue working well into old age. His personal life was a roller coaster of heartbreak. Twice married, twice divorced, he never found the enduring love he longed for, and his children, though present, were distant, their lives pulling them far from their father's troubled orbit. His final years were marked by a quiet suffering. Struggling with health issues, he remained haunted by what could have been the life he imagined slipping further from reach. On September 21, 2021, at the age of 85, a massive stroke silenced him forever.
Ma'am, I'm a miss.
Excuse me, but you stepped in my puka.
I did.
No. Puka in Hawaiian means hove.
Oh, well, you ought to be more careful where you put...
Stefan Gierasch stepped into the role of Alan West in The Jeffersons in 1983 at the age of 57, portraying a wise and authoritative figure. Gierasch, a character actor with an impressive resume, never found the widespread fame he longed for, instead remaining in the background of Hollywood's spotlight. This obscurity weighed heavily on him, leaving him perpetually dissatisfied. His marriage to Hetty Sontag was steady, yet riddled with tension, as his growing bitterness over his stagnant career cast a shadow over their home. Their childless marriage meant that in his later years, Gierasch found himself increasingly alone, his once busy career dwindling into near obscurity. The loss of purpose drove him into deep depression, and health complications followed. In his final months, his mind deteriorated along with his body, leaving him trapped in a state of confusion and regret. He passed away on September 6, 2014, at the age of 88, succumbing to a stroke.
That's when I show up, like a total stranger, and Tyndall will ask me what I think he should do. I tell him, well, I'll call a lawyer friend of mine, so I go into a...
Bernard Fox portrayed Andrew Derrick in The Jeffersons in 1982 at the age of 55, bringing his signature wit and British charm to a character who balanced humor with sophistication. Known for his roles in Bewitched and Hogan's Heroes, Fox had a distinct presence, yet he often found himself typecast as the comic relief, never truly escaping the shadow of his more famous contemporaries. Despite his career longevity, his personal life bore deep wounds. Married to Jacqueline Fox, he appeared to have stability, but behind the scenes, his struggles with the unpredictability of Hollywood weighed on him. He longed for deeper artistic recognition, but the industry only saw him as the bumbling Brit, a caricature rather than a craftsman. Later in life, he faced financial struggles, forced to take roles he found beneath him just to sustain a lifestyle he could barely afford. His health deteriorated as well, and in his final years, he battled heart disease. On December 14, 2016, he passed away from heart failure at the age of 89.
Yeah, that's him. Hey, Andy. George Jefferson, right off Blunt stage, no problem.
Out of my way, worm.
Russell Johnson played Max Steele in The Jeffersons in 1982 at the age of 58, embodying the character's resourcefulness and intelligence. Johnson was best known as the professor on Gilligan's Island, a role that became both his greatest triumph and his greatest curse. Despite his talent, he was forever trapped by the iconic role, struggling to be seen as anything beyond the castaway genius. His personal life was marred by deep loss. His son, David, suffered from AIDS and passed away in 1994, a tragedy that haunted Johnson for the rest of his life. Though he was married 3 times, happiness seemed elusive, and he carried the weight of personal grief that never truly lifted. Financial instability loomed over him, as the residuals from Gilligan's Island were minimal, forcing him to continue working well into his later years. As age caught up with him, his body failed him, and on January 16, 2014, he succumbed to kidney failure at the age of 89.
Excuse me, but do you support the Duke, or does he support himself?
You, sir, are a twit.
Victor Kilian portrayed Uncle Bertram in The Jeffersons in 1975 at the age of 84, bringing warmth and wisdom to his character. A veteran actor, Kilian had been a promising talent in Hollywood until the 1950s, when the infamous Red Scare blacklisted him for suspected communist ties. His once thriving career was shattered, forcing him to take whatever roles he could find in later years. Though he eventually returned to television, he never regained the status he once held. His personal life was equally sorrowful. His beloved wife passed away in the late 1960s, leaving him completely alone. With no children or close family, he lived in a small Hollywood apartment, his career long behind him. His life came to a horrifying end on March 11, 1979, when burglars broke into his home and brutally beat him to death. He was 88 years old. His murder shocked the industry, but within weeks, the tragic news faded, leaving Kilian as yet another forgotten actor whose life ended in violence.
Have you got that little finger?
I'll second that.
Uncle Bertram, that's beautiful.
And besides, you learn when you're a fireman, all kinds of guys can go into that smoke.
Larry Linville played Lyle Block in The Jeffersons in 1981 at age 42, portraying a stern and authoritative figure who strictly adhered to rules. Best known for his role as the bumbling Major Frank Burns in MASH*, Linville struggled to escape typecasting, leading to a career decline after the show ended. Despite marrying 5 times, none of his marriages lasted, leaving him emotionally unfulfilled. His only daughter, Kelly, drifted away as he focused on work, leading to deep loneliness. A lifelong smoker, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, undergoing surgery that weakened him significantly. Unable to work and facing mounting health issues, he developed pneumonia as a complication and passed away on April 10, 2000, at age 60. In his final days, he expressed regret over his career choices and personal failures, dying in relative obscurity despite once being a household name.
So, tell me, Florence, what was your last job, huh?
I was a maid.
William Bryant played Bill Wilson in The Jeffersons in 1980 at the age of 56, giving life to a character known for his unwavering loyalty and reliability. Off-screen, Bryant had a long but underappreciated career, appearing in countless television series and war films, yet never achieving stardom. He worked steadily, but the roles he truly desired always eluded him, leaving him with a sense of deep professional frustration. His personal life was marked by turmoil, married twice, both relationships ended in painful divorces, with his second wife taking their daughter and cutting off all contact. The loneliness weighed heavily on him in his later years, and he struggled with financial instability after being diagnosed with cancer. Despite his deteriorating health, he continued to work in small television roles, unable to afford full-time medical care. He spent his final days in a hospital room with no family or close friends by his side. On June 26, 2001, he succumbed to cancer at the age of 77.
I sold my business and I moved here right away. I've been great ever since.
Oh, you mean you gave up everything and moved to Hawaii?
Well, I tried.
John Anderson played Mr. Claymore in The Jeffersons in 1981 at the age of 59, portraying a stern and authoritative figure whose commanding presence demanded respect. Off-screen, Anderson was a dedicated actor but a deeply troubled man. His rugged appearance often led to him being typecast in westerns and authoritarian roles, and though he worked steadily, he struggled with feelings of artistic limitation. His personal life was no less tragic. His wife died unexpectedly in the 1980s, leaving him inconsolable. The loss sent him into a downward spiral of depression and alcoholism, which alienated him from friends and family. He never remarried, and his later years were spent in seclusion, tormented by grief and the regret of never having had children. The physical toll of his drinking and years of heavy smoking caught up with him, leading to a fatal heart attack on August 7, 1992, at the age of 69.
Well, what does an executive housekeeper do?
Well, for one thing, you'd supervise a staff of over 50 people. Oh.
Davis Roberts played Carl in The Jeffersons in 1976 at the age of 59, portraying a wise and supportive character who offered calm and insightful advice. In reality, Roberts had spent his entire career fighting against the racial barriers of Hollywood, where opportunities for black actors were severely limited. Though he appeared in numerous television shows, he was often cast in stereotypical or minor roles, never receiving the recognition he deserved. The frustration of being overlooked gnawed at him for decades. His personal life was equally difficult. Never marrying, he lived a solitary existence, pouring himself into his work while enduring financial hardship. Friends described him as a kind but deeply melancholic man, haunted by the knowledge that his talent had been undervalued. In his later years, he suffered from emphysema, a result of years of heavy smoking. Unable to afford proper medical care, his health rapidly declined, and he died in relative obscurity on July 18, 1993, at the age of 76.
What are you doing, man? I'm gonna call the police.
Get up off my clothes, Turkey!
Who you calling Turkey?
Susie Garrett portrayed Amanda in The Jeffersons in 1984 at the age of 55, playing a warm and nurturing character who provided a sense of wisdom and kindness. Off-screen, however, Garrett faced immense personal challenges. A talented actress and jazz singer, she never reached the stardom she deserved, often relegated to supporting roles in shows like Punky Brewster. Her personal life was tumultuous. Never marrying, she dedicated her life to her career and family, yet struggled with loneliness and financial difficulties. She helped raise her niece, actress Sherry Johnson, but privately mourned never having children of her own. As her career waned, she turned to teaching, yet even this brought little stability as health issues plagued her. The cruelest blow came with her cancer diagnosis, and despite fighting bravely, she succumbed to the disease on May 24, 2002, at the age of 72. Peter Iacangelo played the guard in The Jeffersons in 1983 at the age of 35, embodying a vigilant and dedicated security officer. Though he secured roles in Fight Club and The Pope of Greenwich Village, his career never flourished, leaving him perpetually on the fringes of Hollywood. Despite his talent, he remained stuck in the cycle of minor roles, never achieving the recognition he longed for. His personal life mirrored his professional struggles. Married twice, both unions ended in divorce, and he never had children. As he aged, he became increasingly withdrawn, fading from public life entirely. By his later years, he was living in obscurity, rarely making public appearances. His cause of death remains undisclosed, and his passing on November 17, 2021, at the age of 73, was barely noticed by the industry. His quiet and lonely death served as a stark contrast to the dreams of fame and recognition that had driven him throughout his life. Pete Schrum played Dollar in 1982 at the age of 48, portraying a jovial and generous man whose kindness masked his own hardships. Off-screen, Schrum lived a life filled with fleeting opportunities and crushing disappointments. A promising actor in his youth, he landed supporting roles in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and Predator 2, but never found stability in Hollywood. His marriage crumbled under financial strain, leading to a painful divorce that left him estranged from his 2 children. Schrum's health deteriorated rapidly in his later years due to excessive drinking, which he used to numb his deep sense of failure. His final years were marked by financial distress and loneliness, with no family at his side. On February 17, 2003, he suffered a massive heart attack alone in his apartment at the age of 68. His body was not discovered until days later, a tragic end to a man who had once been known for his generosity but had ultimately been left with no one to save him. William Bogert portrayed Frank Miller in The Jeffersons in 1978 at the age of 42, bringing to life an intelligent and articulate character known for his sharp mind and eloquence. A talented character actor, Bogert enjoyed steady but unremarkable work in television and film, never quite breaking into stardom. He appeared in countless guest roles, yet his face was more recognizable than his name, a reality that left him disheartened. His personal life was just as dismal. He married twice, but both marriages ended in bitter divorces. His only son, from his first marriage, struggled with addiction and was estranged from him for years. Bogert found solace in acting, but as he aged, roles became scarcer and his financial situation deteriorated. He spent his later years isolated, battling health problems that he could barely afford to treat. His declining mental and physical state led him to retreat entirely from the public eye. He passed away from natural causes on January 12, 2020, at the age of 83. Who is your favorite character in The Jeffersons? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.